As the anchor of the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather spent decades bringing the day's important events to millions of viewers. But his career there was cut short when one story he reported for 60 Minutes came under fire for failures in reporting protocol. That report about then-President George W. Bush's National Guard service is the subject of a new film. It's called Truth. Robert Redford stars as Dan Rather. Dan, good morning. It's always nice to see you. I want to get to the serious nature of this in a second, but I have to start by asking you, did you ever dream that one day someone would make a movie of your life or an aspect of it and Robert Redford would play you?
No, Matt. I think I thought it was more likely I'd become the Pope of Rome or the Dalai Lama and to have the great Robert Redford, one of the greatest actors of this or any other generation, play you on the big screen. I'm still trying to get my head around it.
In the introduction, I gave the backstory, Dan, of what this was all about, this report on George W. Bush's National Guard service, documents that it was based on that were called into question. It was a very troubling time in your career, in the history of CBS News. Reputations were shattered. People lost their job. Why did you want it to come to the big screen?
Well, first of all, I had very little to do with it coming to the big screen, and I was surprised when someone optioned it for the big screen. They optioned Mary Mapes' book about this, and I didn't believe a movie would ever get made. But I do think the movie is resonant today. Look, it's less about me and Mary Mapes and even George W. Bush. What it's about is what's happened to the news, why it's happened, how it's happened, and why people should care.
And that's a really good point. So if you were to look back, it's been about a decade now.
Right.
If you were to look back, what would you do differently in that same circumstance?
Well, I'd do a lot of things differently. What I wouldn't do differently is back off the story. The story was true. Because it was true, undeniable facts about how President Bush got into the Air National Guard to avoid service in Vietnam, and the fact that then after getting in, he disappeared. Those were facts, and that was true. Because it was true, those who wanted to discredit the story had to attack the process by which we got to the truth. And they successfully attacked us on that. So among the things I would do is, number one, I would realize that we had to have a much better defense in the blogosphere. Number two, quite frankly, CBS News, in a break with tradition, did not back its reporting. And that was a surprise and disappointment to me. But I have a lot of responsibilities in this myself.
Yeah, and as someone who had had such a storied career up to that moment, what was it like for you to live in the eye of that storm where you were being so severely questioned?
Well, it wasn't pleasant. Let's say this was the darkest period of my professional career. I'd much rather a movie be made about my coverage of civil rights or Watergate or Vietnam War, but life's not like that, and it was a dark period. And when one was in the vortex of this, you have the sense that the world is spinning and sort of spinning out of control, and nothing you can do can pull you out of that. So what I try to do is recognize that yes, we had made some mistakes in the process of developing the story, and as a consequence had left ourselves vulnerable. And the story became the mistakes we made in getting to the truth, not to the truth.
You mentioned a second ago changes in the news business. You've been out of that anchor chair for about 10 years. Do you miss it?
Of course I miss it, but I've moved on. I've long ago made my peace with the time at CBS, and I've tried to be now into gratitude, modesty, humility, and I've moved on. I do investigative reporting, reporting for Access TV, do a program called The Big Interview. I'm into the new world of the digital world. I work for Mashable, still doing the kind of stories that I like to do. And I'm really excited about moving forward. This is well in the past. As I say, I think the story resonates today, but I'm constantly moving forward and trying to, keep up with Mashable, BuzzFeed, Vice.
Then help me, because I'm having trouble.
Snapshot, all those things. And I think it's an exciting time in journalism. I'm an optimist by experience and by nature. Yes, I've had my difficulties, made my mistakes, but I'm excited every morning when my feet hit the floor. I want to look for a story.
It's always good to see you, Dan.
Thank you, Matt.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, my friend.
And the movie Truth opens Friday.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.